Hi there. Hope everybody's doing great. My name's Tom. You might have heard me on queerpublicradio.com or gaytalkradio.org. Either one. It's basically the same radio stream. I've been producing radio shows since November of 2008, mostly for the LGBTQIA community. Yeah. But today I got a little bit of a food for thought kind of thing, an oppression. For me, it's been speaking out about oppression in all forms, not just our LGBTQIA community, but all minorities. We're kind of all in the same boat. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about the American Indians because that's always been kind of a pet peeve of mine. I'm going to start it out with a couple little quotes from American Indian sources. This first one goes like this. When it comes time to die, be not like those whose hearts are filled with the fear of death. So when their time comes, they weep and pray for a little more time to live their lives over again in a different way. Sing your death song and die like a hero going home. That's from a Indian chief, a Mohican Indian chief, and I'm probably going to butcher his name, Apumut. I guess I might have got it close. Got a second little verse for you here, and this is actually a Cree Indian prophecy. It goes like this. Only after the last tree has been cut down, only after the last river has been poisoned, only after the last fish has been caught, only then will you find money cannot be eaten. And onward with my primary segment today for a little bit of food for thought. It kind of reflects on some recent events for me, and I'm talking to you, or making this video, I should say, on January 29th, 2012. So this previous week, I ran across a good amount of spiritual food, or soul food, S-O-U-L. I believe that many things in our lives happen for a reason, that they cannot simply be dismissed and ignored as happenstance. For instance, when I spoke recently to the book author named Teresa Joyce this last Wednesday, I noticed a wonderful Indian quote she had in her book. I repeated it in that show because that quote had great meaning to me. I'll repeat it now for this segment. It goes like this. An old Cherokee told his grandson about a battle that goes on inside of people. He told him that the battle was between two wolves. One is good and one is evil. The evil one is anger, envy, regret, greed, and arrogance. It's self-pity, guilt, resentment, and inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego. The good wolf is joy, peace, love, hope, humility, kindness, and empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. The grandson then asked his grandfather which of the wolves would win the battle. The old Cherokee answered his grandson by simply saying, "The one which you feed." As I stated on the show when I spoke with Teresa Joyce, seeing this in her book was my first exposure to it. Within 2 days after seeing it and mentioning it on that show, I saw it again posted on Facebook by a Facebook friend. I didn't question the friend whether he had heard me mention it on the show. In fact, I doubt he did because his posting was not exactly the same. But I did take notice, and in doing so, the words became more powerful than they initially were. Shortly afterwards, I was on YouTube, and I saw a YouTube friend had liked a video titled, "Who is Me?" So I went to take a look at it. In that video, the man was talking about an American Indian belief surrounding the circle of life. There's much meaning and many lessons in that circle of life teachings. I'm not talking about the colors or the compass directions and etc., etc., etc. I'm talking about the basic nuts and bolts. How a circle is indeed the most natural form of existence we know. That the earth itself is a circle. The seasons are a circle. When the wind is fierce, it forms a circle. When a bird builds a nest, it's a circle. Indeed, our life is a circle, and each point on that circle represents different moods, thought patterns, and much more. It's a yin and yang approach to life's experiences. We have bad days and we have good days. We have the sweet and we have the sour. And we will have more of the same for as long as we live. I have always felt a closeness to Indian ways. Perhaps I was Indian in a previous life. I don't know. But I do feel drawn to much of their beliefs and teachings. As you notice when I started out this segment today, a couple of quotes from American Indian culture is what I gave. From that and this segment, you would be right to think that I spent some time this week researching American Indians. It wasn't the first time I spent doing so. I've done so many times in the past, and I've written about it, blogged about it, talked about it, etc. In my research this time, I ran across an abundance of American Indian quotes I was so happy to find. And I added many of them to the quote system on queerpublicradio.com. All of the quotes spoke to me in a special way. I'll be sharing them with you on future shows on queerpublicradio.com, and they will also be showing up on queerpublicradio.com in the quote box that is generated on every single page over there in the sidebar on queerpublicradio.com. For any of you who have been long-time listeners of me, you've heard me say how I don't celebrate Thanksgiving. For me, that holiday reminds me of the atrocities committed against the American Indians. I also don't celebrate Independence Day and such holidays celebrating America, because quite frankly, I'm ashamed of what the founders of this country did to the American Indians. This also contributes to the reason why I'm not Christian. I find it quite hypocritical that the founders of this country came here to escape religious oppression, and then they religiously oppressed the inhabitants of this continent. So in this past week, one passage in a book, along with reinforcement of that passage, reminded me of all these things. And in turn, I felt the need to remind you as well in this Food for Thought segment. I'll end this segment with an American Indian quote. These words were spoken by a Seneca Indian named Red Jacket, and he's speaking about the pilgrims who came to America. It goes like this. We first knew you as a feeble plant which wanted a little earth whereon to grow. We gave it to you. And afterward, when we could have trod you under our feet, we watered and protected you. And now you have grown into a mighty tree, whose top reaches the clouds, and whose branches overspread the whole land, whilst we, who were the tall pines of the forest, have become a feeble plant and need your protection. Thank you for listening to me. All the best to you and yours.